All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're doing something really exciting. We are exploring the very last chapter of the book of Numbers, chapter 36. It's a fascinating conclusion because it wraps everything up by dealing with law, land, and legacy. We're going to take an unhurried, step-by-step look at exactly what happens in this text, sticking to the plain, simple meaning of the narrative. No rushing, just a deep, careful dive into the text itself. Welcome to the Pardes channel. Today, we explain Numbers chapter 36 in a clear and simple way, step by step. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with a brief hook and context, move into the inheritance problem, and then look at the divine solution. After that, we'll see the daughter's resolution, pull out some simple ideas and lessons, and finish up with a short chapter recap. Okay, section 1, hook and brief context. Let's figure out exactly where we are in the story. So, picture this. The Israelites are camped out on the plains of Moab, right by the Jordan River, directly across from Jericho. They are literally on the edge of entering the Promised Land. And at this point, the land is actively being divided up, tribe by tribe. Now, you might remember that earlier in the book of Numbers, there was this totally unprecedented ruling. A man named Zelophehad had died, and he didn't leave any sons, only 5 daughters. Well, these daughters bravely stepped forward and asked for their father's share of the land so his name wouldn't just vanish. God actually told Moses, hey, they're right, and the daughters were granted the inheritance. A massive historic victory. But that ruling actually created an unforeseen ripple effect, a real complication. So the big question we're tackling today is, what happens next? That brings us to section 2, the inheritance problem. We've got a major legal dilemma on our hands. Let's look directly at the text in verses 1 and 2. It says, the family heads of the clan of Gilead came and spoke before Moses and the leaders. He ordered you to give the inheritance of our brother Zelophehad to his daughters. So the extended family is stepping up here. And it's important to note, they aren't challenging the daughter's right to inherit at all. They're fully on board with that. Instead, they're respectfully pointing out a massive legal oversight that actually impacts the whole community. To really understand who is speaking, let's just trace the family tree back for a second. We start with the tribe of Manasseh, who is one of the sons of Joseph. Within that huge tribe, you have the Machir clan. Break that down further, and you get the family of Gilead. And from Gilead came Hefer, the father of Zelophehad. So when the text mentions the family heads of the clan of Gilead coming forward, these are literally Zelophehad's own uncles and extended family members. They're acting as representatives for the entire tribe of Manasseh. And here is the core problem they lay out in verse 3. They say, now suppose they marry men from other Israelite tribes. Then their inheritance will be taken from our ancestral inheritance and added to that of the tribe they marry into. They hit the nail right on the head. It's a massive clash of rights. A woman absolutely has the right to marry whoever she wants, right? But the tribe also has a God-given right to keep its ancestral land intact. If Zelophehad's daughters take their legally inherited land and marry a guy from, say, the tribe of Judah, well, that land effectively becomes the permanent property of the tribe of Judah. This brilliantly highlights the tribal leader's absolute worst fear. If the daughters marry inside their own tribe, the land stays securely within Manasseh. No problem. But if they marry outside the tribe, that land is permanently transferred to a totally new tribe. Think about what that means long term. The defined map of Israel would slowly become this chaotic patchwork. Over generations, the tribe of Manasseh would lose piece after piece of its permanent, God-given inheritance. The leaders continue building their case in verse 4. When the year of Jubilee for the Israelites comes, their inheritance will be added to that of the tribe into which they marry, and their property will be taken from the tribal inheritance of our forefathers. They're basically saying, hey, even our ultimate economic reset button wouldn't fix this loophole. Now, if you aren't familiar, let's quickly clarify the year of Jubilee. This was a very special year in ancient Israel that happened every 50 years. Any leased or sold land was supposed to be returned to its original tribal owners. It was an amazing system designed to ensure land never permanently left a family just because they fell into poverty. But in this specific case, the land wasn't sold, and it wasn't leased. It was legally inherited. So even the Jubilee wouldn't return the land to Manasseh. It would legally and permanently belong to the husband's tribe. The leaders from Gilead had a completely valid, undeniable point. Moving right along to section 3, the divine solution, let's see how Moses handles this. Here's Moses' response in verses 5 and 6. Then at the Lord's command, Moses gave this order to the Israelites. What the tribe of the descendants of Joseph is saying is right. This is what the Lord commands for Zelophehad's daughters. They may marry anyone they please as long as they marry within the tribal clan of their father. Notice that. Moses completely validates the tribe's concern. He doesn't dismiss them. Instead, he offers a perfectly balanced, divine compromise. Let's carefully break down how elegant this solution actually is. Step 1. The daughters fully retain their father's land. Their previous historic victory absolutely still stands. Step 2. They keep the freedom to choose their own husbands. They aren't being forced into some arranged marriage against their will. Step 3. The only boundary is that they must choose someone from within their own tribal clan. It's brilliant, right? It protects the individual rights and dignity of the women while simultaneously honoring the community boundaries of the tribe. So the really absolutely crucial point here is that this highly specific ruling for these 5 women immediately becomes a universal law for the whole nation. Verses 7 through 9 lay it out clearly. No inheritance in Israel is to pass from tribe to tribe, for every Israelite shall keep the tribal land inherited from his forefathers. From this day forward, if any daughter in any tribe inherits land, she has to marry within her father's tribal clan. The borders of the tribes are officially locked in, protecting everyone's legacy. Section 4. The daughters' resolution. Let's see how they react to this new rule. The text tells us plainly. So Zelophehad's daughters did as the Lord commanded Moses. It says they married their cousins on their father's side, meaning they married within the clans of the descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph. And because of that, their inheritance remained firmly and legally in their father's clan and tribe. They faithfully complied with the law. They fully embraced the compromise, willingly choosing husbands from their extended family to protect their tribal legacy. And, the text explicitly honors them by naming them all again, just as it did when they first stood up for their rights. Malanga, Tirzah, Hogla, Milcah, Noah. These 5 women are such pivotal figures. Think about it. Their initial courage secured inheritance for women in the first place. And their faithful, willing compliance here finalized the ancestral land laws for the entire nation. Talk about leaving a mark on history. Which brings us to the very last verse of the chapter, verse 13. These are the commands and regulations the Lord gave through Moses to the Israelites on the plains of Moab by the Jordan across from Jericho. This is just the perfect wrap-up, not just for this specific legal case, not just for chapter 36, but literally for the entire narrative of the book of Numbers. The generation that wandered the desert is officially gone. The new generation is standing right there on the plains of Moab, fully equipped with the laws they need, ready to finally cross the Jordan River. All right, section 5, simple ideas and lessons. What can we actually take away from this? First, it's really all about balancing individual choices with community responsibilities. We all have personal rights, for sure, but we're also part of a larger community. And sometimes we just have to find a healthy, respectful compromise between the two. Second, it highlights the importance of speaking up when a system has a loophole. The leaders of Gilead, they weren't being malicious at all. They just saw a genuine flaw in the system that would cause major future harm, and they respectfully brought it to the proper authority to get it fixed. Third, it teaches us about respecting and preserving family legacy. And finally, willingly following divine guidance, exactly like the daughters did when they aligned their personal lives with the new community law. Section 6, short chapter recap. Let's lock in everything we just learned. Step 1. The tribe of Manasseh spots a huge inheritance loophole where ancestral land could be lost forever through marriage outside the tribe. Step 2. Moses takes the issue directly to God and delivers a perfectly balanced solution. The daughters get to keep the land, but they must marry within their own tribe. Step 3. The daughters of Zelophehad faithfully comply with the ruling and marry within their clan. Step 4. The ancestral land is permanently preserved, creating a universal, lasting law for all of Israel just before they enter the Promised Land. As we wrap up this explainer, I'd love for you to ask yourself, how often do we actually consider the long-term community impact of our individual choices? It's a lot to think about. Thank you for learning with us. If this helped you understand the chapter better, like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter.